check this out. A little sneak peek at my note card. I just wrote these down within the last half hour. That's what we're going to talk about in this survival philosophy video in TNP. I think I know my subs at this point, what you guys like, what you really like, and sometimes what you don't really like at all. I don't always go to the topics I know my audience will just eat up, because I'm interested in a lot of different subjects, as you see, and I do my best to, year by year, progress the project in those areas. But one of the key concepts in the Nutnfancy project, it is pretty much what I led out with in 2008, is WROL. Without rule of law. Survival situations. All heck breaks loose. That was a core concept of preparing for just such an event. But with all the topics I do in TNP, I really don't keep up with how everyone is thinking and progressing in the concept of WROL. I threw some grenades out in 08, in 09. I did USK kit review, and then I went on to other things. Now, my guys know that I don't really click around in YouTube and watch gun reviews, knife reviews, survival reviews, anything that deals with what I do. I don't do it. It just burns me out. I can't do it. And I'm in YouTube recreationally, doing stuff like music videos. That's what I like watching. It's fun. Maybe, bike stuff, car stuff occasionally, but usually not. Usually I'm out working, testing and reviewing, stuff like that. The point of this is, like last night, I jumped around in YouTube and spent a lot of time seeing what people are saying about WROL, a survival situation. Just trying to get a feel for where the online community is just from YouTube. And granted, that's just a sliver of the online community. I don't do forums. You guys know that. But I came away after spending some time there, how do I say it? Kind of alarmed, really, because I went, and I'm not going to mention names. I don't want to mention names. I was alarmed at maybe what was being said in some of the videos, almost like people were wishing for WROL, wishing that society would go belly up, wishing they have a chance to use their weapons, and these attitudes alarm me. And lo and behold, what was the first video I did in 08? Hasten not the day. Don't hasten the day when WROL will come. It will come sooner or later, but dang, enjoy rule of law, enjoy peace, support rule of law. It seems funny, but there's some people I think that honestly are praying and wishing the balloon goes up. Dang, they're wishing they can go out and use their stuff. And that's kind of what this video is about. It's a foundational video of stuff I'm going to do later. I'll reference this video as I do in some of my reviews because there's so much to talk about. There's so much philosophy. And I like to think there's so much common sense that perhaps really isn't that common. And I'm saying there are a lot of great stuff, a lot of great things I saw too. Common sense, great approach, really good people. And then there's some whack jobs out there that I just go, oh my gosh. I'm not one of those people that goes, oh, without rule of law, let's go, man. I can't wait. I'm not one of those people who go, yeah, I've got guns. If someone comes and threatens me, I can't wait to go up against other people. No. I'm going to do my best to avoid conflict, to stay low, to help other people. And like I said in my other philosophy video, without rule of law, rebuild your community. Sense of community. It's probably your neighborhood. Let's get it back on the road. Let's get back to living as a peaceful society. That's what I'm about. Now, in this video, we're going to focus a little bit maybe on some of those attitudes because I think it's necessary. And I'm going to share with you my top 10 reasons, as I'm thinking now, subject to change, why you should stay put and not bug out. Original philosophy, I didn't go anywhere, didn't read any book, any magazine. This stuff that I've always thought that I should maybe put in video form. So it's referenceable for my friends, my subscribers. So you ready? That's what we're going to talk about. let me throw down some premises for that situation. Okay? We're going to assume that it is indeed, as we've discussed on camera here, a no kidding without rule of law situation. There are no emergency services, for instance. There's no police services. There's no medical services. Deal with it. So it's kind of like musical chairs. Whatever you had when this kicked off is what you're going to deal with. Bartering not counted, because you can barter and improve your own material situation. I'll reference that, I think. So that's a premise. It is no emergency services. They're overwhelmed. They're not available. Could be man-made, could be natural disaster, creating these situations. All kinds of things. Economic collapse, earthquake, hurricanes, a volcano in the western United States. It erupts and really does a number on the whole western U.S. Nuke war, terrorist attacks. You guys know the score, right? But it creates a situation where life as we know it pretty much comes to an end. You know, going to the store, buying a gallon of milk, buying some eggs, forget it. The shelves will be bare. That's a supposition, a premise for this video. We're assuming worst case, okay? Because it will drive to what I need to share. These 10 reasons. There's no fuel, by the way. If there is fuel, it's going to be extremely expensive. The lines will be very long, as we've seen in the United States before. Don't count on it. There'll be limited food, like I said, and there could be no rule of law, which means the wolves of society start having their way. It's get even time. You know, there's no cops to cause us problems. These people have food. I'm going to go take it. That's a supposition. There may be valid reasons to leave. You may be affected so adversely by a natural disaster you really don't have a choice. What if your whole house crumbles to the ground because of an earthquake? You're not staying there. You got to go. So there is a reason to have a bug out kit, as I call them. I call them BOKs. And I don't know if I've told you that terminology. I know there's other terms out there. That's what I've always called them way before TNP. You'll see that when I talk more specifically about what I think it should contain. Okay, you may have a mandated extraction. Hey, you have to leave. For the record, I'm not for those. I think you're a free person, and if a government entity comes to me and says you have to go, I don't like that. I think it's ultimately up to the person in their own domicile whether they want to extract or stay. Granted, you should know what you're in for. You know, I was growing up in Mississippi, and if these childhood memories serve me right, and I may have referenced this in another video, there was a hurricane coming, and they knocked on some apartment complex, said, hey, you're going to be hurricane or tornado, I forget which, sorry. They said, you're going to be in the path, you need to evacuate. These are like local police, and there's this party going on in the top level of this apartment complex, and they go, we ain't going, we're having a great time, we'll be fine. They never found any of those people. The whole roof was ripped off. They were sucked right out of that apartment. They didn't find any of them, if I remember right. I mean, they died. Like 8, 10 people had a chance to evacuate. They didn't. So my point in saying this is, yeah, you have the right not to evacuate, but you also cannot escape the consequences if you make the wrong decision. There's some of that common sense I'm talking about. So I'm going to stay in my house no matter what. Well, be smart. It might be, that a train went off the tracks 1 mile from your house and it has some contaminants that you're going to die. So it's not always the smartest thing. So those are just some quick premises. I want to throw those out. And there's others I probably didn't think of. And on these reasons, you're going to see some great comments below and stuff that I didn't think of, but you guys will. And so we can learn together as a family here in the Nutnfancy Project. I'll learn from you. I'll try to jump in this video when I can make time and just read through comments. And Doodle will do it, and we'll summarize it and go, oh, I didn't think of that. Number one, let's get on with it. Because this video is going to be, I think, probably an hour. Because there's just so much to talk about. And I think it will hold your interest. I don't think you're going to get bored at all if you're interested in this subject. The number one reason not to bug out is your best provisions are at home. That's kind of obvious, right? let's say you're a really smart TNPer. You've prepared. You watched my water storage video, for instance. Many shall die of thirst, and you have a water storage. Congratulations, by the way. Good job. Feels good, doesn't it? You have a food storage. Maybe it's canned goods, maybe it's freeze-dried, but you have something where you can draw upon it and you can live for a number of months. I won't quantify it at this point. You have medical provisions at your house. And yes, and this is so funny that in the prepper community, as a lot of people call it, that weaponry is like the sole way to prepare. It's like everyone's, oh man, I've got this, I got Mosin Nagants, I got AR-15s. To me, it's just a small slice of the puzzle. Yes, I believe in being armed. All free people should be armed. It gives you options. There will be evil people trying to have their way with people who are prepared. I think that is a reality. I'm not denying that at all. How prevalent that will be, I just don't know. And just like any armed encounter, I'm kind of getting sidetracked here, but really quick, try to diffuse it. Just because there's no rule of law doesn't mean you can go around and just hurt people. In fact, just the opposite. Try not to. Use non-lethal. Negotiations if you have to. But what I was getting at is you have your weaponry there at your house. You have ammunition at your house. And I'm going to hit this in a separate point. That ammunition's heavy. You know? We'll hit that in SAWC. That's the point we'll talk about here in a sec. You have fuel. Hopefully at your house. You have a way to heat food, maybe heat your house to stay warm. If you live in a cold climate like I do, dude, in the wintertime it gets frigid. How are you going to stay warm if you leave your best place of preparation, your home? You put all that effort into storing these things and all the money and time. You want to just, on a whim, walk away from that? No. No. Obviously, and I'm just going to throw that out there. Best provisions are at home because I'm assuming you've prepared. Don't do it. Number 2, home is comforting, and I will credit my son, Tactical Doodle, for giving me that one. I said, in your mind, what's the best reason not to leave home? He's like, because home's home. It's comforting. And I started thinking about it when I used to hike with these youth. I'd take them up in the backpacking, wilderness sessions. And we worked hard. I mean, we're going deep in the woods and the mountains. And I remember some of the kids would really get stressed out because they are away from home. They didn't like it. To us as outdoors people, we go, oh, that's so cool. We're in the outdoors. We love it. It's so fun. It's adventurous. It's like going on a backpacking trip. But not all people are like that. In my V-Strom DL1000 review, I introed that whole video with like that. I'm showing you like expanses of the desert, and I was like, to me, it's really fun to get out into these places that are remote. You don't see anybody. It's so fun to get out adventure motorcycling and exploring these areas. I love it. But there's other people that get very stressed when they're in that environment. And when you're stressed, a lot of adverse things happen. People don't think as clearly unless they're trained when they're stressed. Maybe their health suffers. They use more calories. Things are just not as good. Now, if you're home, it's maybe one less way of you amping your stress level up. Hey, this is home. Water's not running. I don't have electricity, but it's still home. Along with that, you may have books, games that you can occupy yourselves, which I highly recommend you do. Just don't sit around thinking, man, this sucks. Stay busy with projects. I'm going to improve my water system. I'm going to, make a rain catching device to supplement my water supply like that. I'm working, just like our ancestors did. They didn't sit around saying, this sucks. We live in the prairie. We don't have cable. The internet's out. I don't have video games. They lived pretty happily at times, and a lot of times they were miserable too because their conditions were pretty austere. But you're sleeping in your own bed, and it is home. You have all your memories at home. You have pictures, things that can support you through these very difficult times. Don't kid yourself, they're going to be difficult. It will not be awesome, from what I know. It's going to be scary, but at home maybe it's a little bit less scary. And you have your family. You're all together in one group when you're at home. People know where to find you. Hey, we need to go find these guys. Where are they first going to look to contact you? Let's assume, again, without rule of law, they don't have electronic communications. Phones don't work. Cell phones don't work. All the passenger pigeons are taken. They will attempt to contact you first at your residence. Are you okay? You guys are there. They contact you. Their stress level comes down. Okay, they're good. And maybe you can come up with a plan of how to get together, where the best place is to work as a family in this situation, this example. Well, let's go to your residence. I have more preparations. It wasn't damaged in the earthquake. Come over here. See what I'm saying? They know where to find you. Number 3, neighborhood support structure. This will get back to the video without rule of law. Reestablishing community, sense of community. Now, every time I say that, I know TNPrs roll in. They'll go, dude, my neighborhood sucks. I hate my neighbors. I've read it. I know. Message received. I get it. You hate your neighborhood. They're not trustworthy. You think they're going to go stick a gun out the window and shoot you as soon as something happens, right? I've read those comments. I get it. To that, and I'll just address it really briefly, is, dude, if you feel that way about your neighborhood and that only rule of law is keeping you from getting harmed by the people you live next to or near, you need to get out of that neighborhood. You need to do whatever you have to do to get out of that neighborhood, because you are putting yourself in close proximity to danger. It's like you're walking across a creaking wooden bridge and there's only one last rope that's holding it together. When that rope snaps, you're gone. See what I'm saying? That's a tenuous situation. I mean, honestly, if you're honest about that and go, hey, yeah, my life is at risk if something goes down in this neighborhood, get out now while you can. Get a better job, make more money, get out. Word to the wise. I'm going to assume that in most situations, you're going to have some pretty good neighbors, maybe some wishy-washy neighbors, and neighbors that really, are not that good. But I think most, when you bond together in a common purpose, and that is to live, you're going to get close to each other, especially if you're in a neighborhood. Hey, Nutnfancy, do you think there will be roving gangs that will go neighborhood to neighborhood? It's really hard to predict, and I definitely have no crystal ball, but knowing what I know about humanity, knowing what I know about history, I say that it is quite possible. Remember, there's no police services. What do they have to lose, these people who are not prepared, that don't have food? They know this neighborhood does have food. Let's go check those guys out. Let's bring a few guns while we're at it, and let's have our way. Yes, I think it could happen. I don't think that's paranoid at all. I think it's just addressing reality, addressing human history. I think in a without rule of law situation, you will, and I think I've said this before, you will see the best in humanity come out, and you will see the worst in humanity come out. Kind of like war. That's been said several times about war, has it not? But if you stay within your neighborhood support structure, once again, you guys all have that common purpose. And what is that purpose? To survive. I said in the sense of community video, you're never going to be totally prepared. There's going to be holes in your preparation. Dang, I don't have enough of this. I don't have that provision. You can barter easier when you're in your neighborhood. You may be surprised what your neighbors have on hand. Even ones you thought that were not prepared at all, maybe they have a stock of, car batteries. Some way to produce electricity, solar panels, medical supplies, food. You can barter. The first thing you should do is meet together in the neighborhood and say, this sucks. How are we going to survive together? I won't go into, this person's not prepared. They don't have any food. I do. Do I give all my provisions to them? Those are hard questions, dude. I say first and foremost, your priority is to your direct family. Help as you can with others. It's been said here on this camera before, the best way to help others is to have a large stock of rice, a large stock of dried beans, and then when you eat people who are completely starving, if you can, give them a portion of rice and beans. A staple which a large percentage of the world lives on even today. It sustains life. Is it, 5-star restaurant? No. But you can live, and it gives them something, and you've served other human beings in their dire circumstances. So I believe we should not just look after ourselves, and without rule of law, we should, like I've always said, be good sheepdogs. Be humans. Look outwardly. How can I serve this person? How can I make his life better? You may find the best chance of you being happy in that situation is you don't concentrate on your own circumstance and how miserable it is. You go out and serve others. Therein you will find happiness, I guarantee it. Yes, even without rule of law. Your neighborhood support structure should be being built right now. You should get to know your neighbors. Doesn't mean you have to be best friends with them. Doesn't mean you have to hang out with them. Doesn't mean you have to see eye to eye with them politically. It's funny, when all this stuff kicks off, all these petty differences will just vaporize. You don't have time for political correctness and nonsense and stupidity when people's basic needs are not getting met. Look at human history. Can't eat, political correctness is gone. How do we distribute fuel? How can we set up a bartering system? How do we secure the neighborhood? How do we set up security patrols? Like I said in other videos, since you're watching this, you're probably the dude that's going to be in charge of all that. You will be the neighborhood captain, you, watching this video. If you're a family head, you have a wife, you have kids, they will also be helping others to secure the neighborhood. Doesn't mean we're paranoid, and sitting at the end of our street, hey, we're going to shoot anybody that comes in our neighborhood. That is not what I'm saying. It means you're aware of what's going on. You have intelligence, just like a military operation. What's going on around us? Send out a 2-man team. What's going on? Let's go look. Hey, we're doing okay. This neighborhood over here is doing good. They're getting electricity back. We can set up a bartering system with them. This will be our system of government until we can establish, no kidding, rule of law. But if you bug out, you lose all that. That's the point. You lose that support structure. Now what do you have? A small group walking around. Nobody knows you. You don't know them. At least your neighbors know you. And by knowing you, hopefully they can trust you. They go, hey, I don't really like that guy. Let's say he's a total, protectionist. He hates guns. But this all kicks off again. All that nonsense will go by the wayside, especially if he hears of these roving gangs causing problems. He's going to come to you for help. He'll run to you and go, oh, dude, I was totally wrong about the gun issue. Can I have one? You'll go, maybe. But first off, admit you're an idiot. I'm just messing around, but I would. But he'll trust you because he knows you. As opposed to if you decide to bug out on a whim with your bug out kit and you're out there, what human relationships do you have? The ones you establish in the moment with no background, with no history. Unless you have some pre-planned thing where you're going to meet up with certain folks. I say stay in your neighborhood. Number 4, when you leave, you are exposed. You will be subjected to the elements. Now, we talked about we're not going to have water, we're not going to have electricity, right? Right. We're not going to have sewage services, by the way, either. Are you prepared for that? You should be. But you do have a roof over your head, and take it from me, having lived many nights in a tent, a roof is better than a tent, especially if the situation goes on for a long time. It's tent living's rough, dude. It is. I mean, it's not that rough. I think living under a poncho, which I've done, with driving rain coming under the poncho, mud finds its way, that's rougher. No cover at all, rougher. Living in a natural shelter, perhaps rougher. Done that too. But a house, or a cabin, or even a trailer, much better. The only thing I could say is if it was compromised, the structure's compromised again, or if there's been death within that structure and you have to deal with that. And I'm talking like, smell and stuff like that. I'm just going to be honest with you guys. That's a different situation, and I hope it doesn't happen. But I could just see an earthquake situation, where your house is just destroyed, and you're like, weighing, do I leave? Do I stay? It's not that good of a shelter anymore, and that's the bottom line. But by leaving, by bugging out, you're subjected to a lot more exposure. And I'm not just talking the weather. The weather is obvious. The wind, the snow, the rain. You're out in it. Take it from me, having backpacked my whole life. It's kind of cool when you're backpacking. You're like, oh, this is cool. But as a way of life, day after day, I've been with people where, again, it stresses them out. They can't relax, and it takes them into a survival realm. You know, if you haven't done it, you may be surprised at how, ill prepared you are to cope with being in the elements all the time. Go out to Mongolia. Look at the folks in Mongolia. That's how they live. By the way, they're pretty happy. Last time I checked, I love the people in Mongolia. From my research, I think they're really cool. They're happy people. They're hardworking. They're trusting. They come up to folks. They come up to Westerners. They're very friendly. They're such a cool people. They live a pretty hard life. They have those tents out there. The wind's just sweeping all the time. They're eating goat balls. They are. Their food, man, it's not that good. But they're happy and they survive year after year, century after century. So it can be done. There's people right now in the world that do it. I just use Mongolia as an example. Everywhere. Look at our ancestors back in the 1800s. The frontiers people came out to the Midwest. They came out to Indian country. They survived. Were they living high on the hog? No. No, they were not. Were they happy at times? I think, and I read this one book, it said, hey, the whole depiction, of the Cartwrights, I think that was their name, from Bonanza, sitting down to the table, they have this spread of amazing food, mashed potatoes, rolls, roast beef, in this huge log cabin. That is far from the truth of most pioneers in the United States. Instead, they were in a sod house. They were in a log cabin, just very tiny. Some didn't have windows. They were subjected to the cold and the extremes of heat. A lot of times they were starving, despite their best efforts. Farming, their crops would fail. It wouldn't rain. Locusts would come decimate them. Indians would attack. They'd steal their children. It didn't work out so good for a lot of them. A lot of them died. So I'm saying this because I don't want us to romanticize the concept of living out of doors in the exposure, again, which has been proven in human history to kind of suck day after day. To go out and do a trip, awesome. Have fun with it. It makes you tougher. You guys know I believe in it. I've modeled it here on TNP a lot. But don't kid yourself. Now, another aspect of exposure is also the threat from evildoers. We call them wolves of society. Maybe better said, predators of society. You're going to have more exposure when you leave your house. Because you may be trucking along and lo and behold, let's say you have a group of 5, it's your immediate family. You've left your house, maybe you had to, maybe you didn't have to, you made the wrong call. And now, do you have all those provisions that you planned on? Let's go to the armament. I know you guys love the armament thing. What's your combat loadout? Remember your SAWC, which I'll hit again. You ain't going to have that many rounds. You just can't. It's all foot power, dude. Maybe you're out of shape. Have you taken that into account? And now you're exposed to these bad people. Think, and this is kind of a funny, not funny, but it's an illustrative example. Think Walking Dead. Not the zombie thing, but think how they portray society and just your ability to move around without being noticed, without perhaps being engaged by some people. I think, not sure, I think that could be a player. Another movie is that one, The Day After Tomorrow. Remember the weird weather came, the big wave came, heavy rains, and then it turned to ice cold, which I thought was kind of a fun movie. Is it realistic? I don't know. Probably not. But there was a point in that public library where one group says, we need to leave. Our best choice is to get out of here. Another group said, no, our best choice is to stay right where we're at. We've got shelter, this huge, stone library. Let's just wait it out and work together as a team. And of course, this is a movie. It's not really realistic. It's meant for drama. Conflict is drama. One group left. Sure enough, as the dude's dad predicted, it got really cold and they froze to death. All those people died. The people that stayed in sheltered lived. Is it realistic? No, not necessarily, but the point is staying in your domicile lessens your exposure, both to weather and also to bad dudes. Next point. I love this one. I should have led off with this, but I wrote these down in no particular order. Point 5. Where you gonna go? Where are you gonna go? I love this fantasy that is online. It's in YouTube. It's like, oh, dude, when things kick off, I'm hitting the woods. I'm going up in the mountains, man. Well, you and 20,000 other people from your community will have that same thought. Do you think you're going to be alone up there? No, you're going to have some people that stake out territory and they will defend it. This is without rule of law, man. They get there first. They're like, it might be your favorite patch of woods, your favorite patch of desert. You go out there and there's a team of like 30 people there armed. Get out of here, otherwise you die. Hey, wait, this isn't what I expected. This is my patch. No, it's ours. Again, human history is full of examples like that, right? The fantasy, you're going to go to the woods. You're going to live peaceably. I don't know, man. I don't know. Are you prepared for that woods living to begin with? How long have you ever lived in the woods? Well, I've done an overnight. Okay. I've camped out of a camper before. You're not prepared, dude. It's hard living. And you go through supplies really quickly. Speaking from my backpacking experience. You know, water, reference my water video, I talk about that. I mean, how much it takes just to barely survive and then comfortable. Water procurement is an ongoing job. Your food supplies are going to dwindle. And if there's people nearby, let's say you do stake out a patch in that so-called wilderness area, away from all the, the roving gangs or whatever, you may be surprised that there is no wildlife to be had. It's been sniped. No rabbits, no squirrels, no deer, no duck. What you may have been counting on is gone. That, by the way, has been proven. Look at World War II, modern world history. Is there wildlife to, in Stalingrad? No. So to bug out to the woods, maybe it would work. I think it would work is if you had an established family location. And I've talked to friends that have this. They have a cabin in the family. It is far removed from their primary residence. They have it stocked up with weapons, food, water. They know the area. It is theirs legally already. It's titled to them indeed. So it have a legal standing to be there. Sooner or later, rule of law will come back. Without rule of law, I think it's temporary. How long it lasts, I don't know. 6 months, a year, 2 years? Probably not 5 years. Probably not 2 years. Maybe a year. And before things start coming back and normalizing, because society has a way of righting itself, at least in the United States. And when it comes back, hey, I'm in my domicile, dude. I've been here all along. You have legal standing to be there. I think that works. But it's expensive. Or you have to be really lucky. You have to be born in a family that already has a patch of land in a cool and, I would say, isolated area. As I was biking across Nevada, which I've done several times this year on the motorcycles, I was looking around and I was like, wow, there's some really cool places out here that are remote. I mean, I'm going to roll in some footage if I have it. They are out there. And I was thinking to myself, this is a good bug out location. In some ways, it is remote. If there are roving gangs, there's violence in the cities, you probably would get away from it out here. It's not easily accessible. Fuel's limited, so vehicles won't be operating. But there are some complications. Number one, there's not a lot of water out there. Maybe have some real foresight. You drill a well at your place that's deeded, that you've purchased. You stock up supplies. Hopefully they're not found and looted, by the way. And plus, the biggest one, how are you going to get out there? Let's say you choose a place that's removed from you by 300-400 miles. Without rule of law, you think you're going to travel 300 to 400 miles unmolested? Maybe, but it maybe not. And even still, you may be surprised how crowded things are even out there. I don't know. There's a lot of unknowns here. Where are you going to go? I'd say I'll stay at my house. That's where I want to go. as long as I can, until I have a really good reason not to stay there. Number 6, and I kind of mentioned this already. The number 6 reason not to bug out is because you just may run into one of those roving gangs. And I don't want to paint a dark picture, a gloomy picture of how evil and bad society is going to be if the balloon goes up. That's not what I want to do. But I do want to be realistic. And that's what all of TNP is. Whether I do a review, I do a philosophy video, I want to be truthful. Okay? That will stand the test of time. And being truthful when we talk about without rule of law is, yes, there will be predators that may feel empowered to have their way. And when you've bugged out, you decide, hey, I'm leaving the house for whatever reason. I hate my neighbors. I'm going to leave. I think you're more vulnerable to these groups. As opposed to staying in your neighborhood community, having an organized system to repel attackers if and when that happened. Sound reasonable? Would you rather face them in a small group with limited supplies, limited ammunition, limited weapons, limited members of the group? It is a small group probably. Or would you rather be in an organized group on your home turf that you know well? You know, the advantage always goes to the dude that knows the terrain the best. You know, roving gang's possible. I gotta press on for time. Number 7 reason not to bug out is because you become a number at a refugee center. A number. What do you mean, Nutton? Here's what I mean. It's like when you're at your house, it's you. You know, it's John Smith. I'm at my house. This is my house. It's legally entitled to me. I have all my supplies. We've talked about that. But I'm a person. I am defending my property. I have rights. If you go to a FEMA camp, a refugee camp, a huge whatever gymnasium of refugees, who are you then? You're a number. That's who you are. You just lost your identity. Why? Because now, in all likelihood, you are part of a problem that some type of entity is trying to solve. Maybe the government has some function. You know, worst case, we said no emergency services, no medical services, no fuel. But maybe there is an entity that's trying to help people as best they can. There are some supplies. But now you've got, what, 2,000 people within a gymnasium? You've become one of them with your wife, with your children. You have limited supplies on hand. Now you're a number. Please, sir, stand over there. We don't have time for you. We'll get to your problems here. We can't. But you don't understand, man. I had to leave my house. Yeah, you and 2,000 other people had to do that. I think that Tom Cruise movie, and I'm just referencing these movies, not for making realistic points, but to paint a visual image to you guys. War of the Worlds. The movie kind of sucked. It did. But the depiction of the chaos that ensued, the without rule of law situation, I thought was pretty accurate. From what I know. From my grasp of human history, I thought is pretty accurate. Don't become a number, stay at your residence. Oh, and by the way, you cruise into that shelter, they're probably going to have rules. No guns. Sir, you have a gun, we're going to confiscate that from you. No, you're not. Oh, yes, we are. And now what do? Now you got this huge conflict. We're going to take your supplies and divvy them up to the group. Oh, no, you're not. Oh, yes, we are. You know, martial law has been declared. Shh. There's the declaration right there, sir. It is the law of the land. You will comply or else we will imprison you or whatever. I can see that happening. I think you're much better off to maintain your independence, to stay away from all of that, primarily at your residence if you possibly can. If you have to bug out, avoid that until you have no option. I mean, if you're facing death, no provisions, there's no way to get other provisions, you've ran out of options, maybe you don't have a choice. You know, you have to look after your family. It's a hard situation. And your options in your area and what went down in your area may limit your options. It's hard to say. I think most people will fall into this category of becoming a number. They're not prepared, either mentally or materially prepared. So when this kicks off, dude, Come into the gymnasium, there's your cot. And by the way, the person next to you has, I don't know, some type of sickness, Ebola, just as an example, a contagious disease. I mean, when you get a bunch of people cramped together, especially if sanitation is an issue, dude, disease can just like rage through that area. Yet another reason to stay at your house. There it's more controllable. There you can control sanitation. It's a known quantity. You have your family members, but when you're near strangers, you don't know what they've brought in. I think you get the picture. Number 8. I love this one too. Love this point. I've referenced it earlier. SAWC. Now, TNPrs already know what that is. It's size and weight constraints. But I don't think a lot of people really have a grasp on what that means. Let's go back to the first point. State your primary residence, because that's where all your supplies are, right? What is a standard combat loadout to a troop in Afghanistan? You know, I don't even know if I know the answer. I think it's highly dependent upon the mission, the opportunity for resupply, but let's just say 120 rounds of 5.56. Now, one magazine of 5.56 weighs 16 ounces. Okay? So that weight adds up very quickly. And that's just ammunition and magazines. You throw in a rifle that, let's say you got carried away, you threw a bunch of crap on it you don't need, it weighs 10 pounds. But I got to take body armor too. Okay. So you're wearing your tactical vest. Let's say the tactical vest, fully loaded. You got a multi-tool knife in there. And I've hit on this before, but let's just ballpark it. 50 pounds. 35 pounds. You add in water. You know where I'm going with this. It's really easy to talk theoretically about these issues and act like you're a BA, that you can handle it. I just get out there and do it. Doing it is something entirely, completely different. Something the internet really has no grasp on, from what I've seen, clicking around. I mean, I've done it. You see it on camera all the time. Operation Red Skies was completely about that. It was my attempt to show you one outing to drive these points home. One outing. Watch the entire series of Operation Red Skies. We talk about it. It's eye-opening. Go back in our history. Again, the pioneers coming across in wagon companies, some cases handcart companies, from the East Coast all the way to the West Coast, settling parts between. That piano they wanted to take, oh, it's left on the side. Fancy dresses left on the side. They can't take it. SAWC can't take it. There's pitch and stuff. Just the important stuff. Food, water, some medical supplies. That's maybe a gun here and there if they could fit it. That's reality, especially if you're on foot. You're going to be extremely limited on what you can take. That's what I've been talking about. If you go to my egress system of videos about the pilot survival kit, I'm harping on that the whole time, drawing upon my military experience in that situation and growing up with my dad. That's why I preach it. But people won't learn the lessons. They think they're Superman. They can do it. In a bug out situation, you're going to find out real quick. Maybe you can't. And that's assuming you're healthy. If you get injured, you twist an ankle, you bust a leg, you break a finger, now you have a lot more stress in your life. Now that weight that you counted on being able to carry, now what? What are you going to do now? Your wife going to carry it? Your kids? Your granddad? I don't know. There's no easy answer. But to avoid these problems with SAWC, which, again, and this was a premise of the video, you may have to confront. The best way to do, stay at your primary residence. Then it's not a factor. Got my water, got my food, got my ammo, got my medical supplies, got my books. Kids got some toys. That's what I'm saying. Number 9. The transportation system will be crap. Remember what I said about The Walking Dead? And we're not talking about chopping zombie heads or anything in here. We're talking about the depiction of, in this case, the transportation system. The cars littered on the highway. No one's going anywhere. There's no gas. Maybe, again, a natural disaster completely trashed your roads. There may be. And I was down in Mobile, Alabama as a kid. I grew up in the South. And I remember when the hurricanes came through, I forget which one it was, Frederick or something. And dude, all the roads were closed for like a week. They had to saw through all these trees. They just fell over the road. They looked like a bunch of fallen toothpicks, telephone poles. It took, teams of utilities linesmen out there just working day and night to clear it out. You may have that situation. Going back to the volcano example. Last time I checked, a lot of things don't work well. I'm talking cars, motorcycles, jets, helicopters. Let me reference another movie, Dante's Peak, when there's volcanic ash. They don't. That's proven. I mean, if the Western United States, Colorado, Utah, Arizona, parts of California are, a foot deep in ash, can you use a car? Can you breathe? See what I'm saying? The transportation, I would not count on it. Getting back to that example, hey, I got a really cool bug out place in whatever state, whatever location. It is 400 miles away. Maybe it's in Mexico or something like that. Can you get to it? It might be a big if. And doing so may just put you in so much exposure. There's that concept again. So much risk. All that planning you did is completely lost. Because you forgot to take into account the transportation system will be crap. Can you overcome it? Are there methods of transportation where you could address that? I think bicycles will work. They can get through narrow places. They can carry a lot of weight. Check out this bike I saw. And this is kind of an aside, but it is interesting. It was outside a pizza joint. And I was so struck by its design, I took some photos. It is a luggage carrying bike. It's specifically set up for it. Now, granted, this pizza place is using it to deliver pizzas, I guess, to close houses. Hopefully they're close. If not, those pizzas are going to be cold. But looking at the bike and studying it, it can carry a lot of weight. I think that will work. Is it the perfect solution? No. It's slow. You're very exposed to the elements. Everything else. You're very visible. Things that are moving in a transportation system that isn't moving will be extremely visible and noticed by everybody. Hey, look at that dude on a bike. Let's go steal it. Here we go again. But there's ways to mitigate, perhaps travel at night. Just an option. I mean, I'm going to assume you're asking, is there a way to overcome it? Maybe. There's some creative solutions, but they're pretty much going to be human-powered, I think, that can be relied upon. There are some fuel sources, alternative fuel sources that you can use for certain vehicles. For instance, I have a buddy. He has a deuce and a half, and he uses transmission fluid as fuel. And he'll just go by tapping the crankcases of all the vehicles that have been broken down, and he has pretty much unlimited fuel, assuming it's, again, a walking dead situation, cars sitting everywhere. No, they're abandoned. The problem is it's a big rig. It's even more visible, and you need a good road system to use it, and you're probably just going to get owned in it anyhow. Sooner or later, that someone wants to take it from you. You're going to get a golden BB in the head. Someone likes your rig, they're going to take it. Got to consider everything. Don't count on a transportation system. It's probably bye-bye. Another reason to stay at home. Last but not least, where are we at? 48 minutes? Perfect. Medical treatment is easier at your house. Maybe, and I know a lot of people like this, you have family members that have an existing medical condition right now. Raise your hand if you fall into that category. I do. Mrs. Nutnfancy has rheumatoid arthritis, as you guys know. She is on some pretty stout medications for that RA. Definitely our best bet is to stay put. Hiking 20 miles a day under stressful conditions, having that exposure again, that's not going to be good for her. I don't know if she can do it. Maybe we have some medicine here at the house that can support her condition longer. You go out on the road with your BOKs, living that hard pioneer style of life. That RA comes back in our situation, and next thing you know, I'll have to carry her. And I will. But where does that put us as a group egressing to some location? It cuts our ability to travel quickly down to nothing. It increases our calorie expenditures up a lot. because now I'm working harder. I need more calories. You may have more medical options at the house for those existing medical conditions, which you have right now in rule of law, right? In rule of law, you have them. Without rule of law, it's going to be even worse, because now you can't resupply that medication that keeps that individual in your family going. Maybe it's diabetes. It needs to be refrigerated. How are you going to refrigerate it? You might have a better option at the house. You could ice it up. Be careful with generators, because they go through a lot of gas. Well, I have a generator at the house. Well, it's good for short-term rule of law situation, like a hurricane. Society's still operating, you just lost electricity. I think that's where a generator really comes into play. Without rule of law, cranking a generator up and everybody hears it for miles and miles around, it's the dinner bell. Hey, that house over there, do you hear that? I hear a motor. Let's go check it out. If he's got a generator, he's got food, he's got water, and people are going to come knocking on your door. Maybe they don't knock at all. Maybe they just come and take what they think they should have. Maybe it's get even time with you because you're prepared. They're not. I know, it's unpleasant, but I think it's reality. For medical conditions, though, you have water stored on your premises, hopefully. You have medical supplies stored on your premises, hopefully. You have all kinds of supplies, ammunition, guns, shotguns. Speaking of which, how are you going to carry shotgun ammo? You ain't. It's just too heavy. I'm going to carry an 870 with 100 rounds. All right, dude, I'll go running and gunning with you with that loadout, and we'll see how long you last on a TNP run and gun day. I'm just saying, it will be short. You know, again, it's really easy to talk off the cuff. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, but the realities sometimes are different. And I make no apologies for that. That's just based on what I've seen. It's truth. Medical treatment, easier at the house. If someone gets injured, they get a bad cut, they have a leg break, a gash, would you rather treat them in a tent at a FEMA facility where you may be waiting in line for other people who may be hurt worse, who are competing for very limited supplies and medicines, and for that matter, expertise, doctors and nurses, or would you rather just do it at the house? And maybe you can go barter for medical services for a person. Maybe it's a neighbor or someone or a doctor nearby. They come to the house, and in exchange for his or her services, they get this. Maybe give them some food. Maybe give them some 9mm ammo. And they take care of your wife. I think it's going to be easier at the house. 52 minutes. Boom. 10 reasons from the Nutnfancy Project not to bug out. I think they're founded on pretty good logic. A pretty good span of human history also. Are they all inclusive? No. Are there more? Probably. Again, watch the comments. You'll see it. There's another whole bunch of reasons we didn't even think of. I didn't think of. You're better served to stay put, not to use your bug out kits. Like I said, though, there may be some options that are taken from you, and you don't have a choice. And that's where a bug out kit comes into play. We don't look forward to bugging out, but it's our safety net. It is our plan B to be executed when we don't have a choice. I don't have a choice. I have to bug out. If I'm going to live, if my family's going to live, we have to leave this location now. And you do what you have to do. You have a grasp of SAWC. You've planned your system. You've got it pared down as realistically as possible. You've kept yourself in shape. You kind of have an idea where to go. And more importantly, you have an idea of who to unite with. Because if you do it on your own, you may be surprised at how quickly you do not last. And I'm not talking violent confrontation here. I'm just talking surviving. Food, shelter, water. The reason we have a society is because we survive easier that way. Like I've said in the other videos, dude, you go do that job, I'll do that job. You grow our food, I'll be the security guy. Hey, you be our entertainment. You're funny. You'll be the village jester, dude. Hence, societies were born, and they work. A division of labor. Everybody comes out ahead. They benefit from it. They get money, they get goods, they get services. 10 reasons not to bug out. Think about them. This is the Nutnfancy Project. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for watching. See ya.